Welcome to another week of Miiverse drawing. This week is about op art, or in other words, optical illusion art. There are different ways to go about optical illusion art. Some of it depends on color, some of it depends on shapes or lines, but it all ultimately comes down to one thing, and that's to trick your brain, whether it's to see something else or to see different things than what you initially see or whatnot. Some folks have gotten into optical illusion art, some more than others. There's a couple that I've actually been following. I will show some of their examples. I know there were some other folks that were a bit into it, but I don't know, it seems like maybe it's kind of died down right now, but I do have some examples. I'll be talking about some different ways to go about it and showing some examples. I won't be showing how to draw them. Generally, I will talk a little bit how to tackle that in each section, but for the most part, this is just to get you thinking about it if you're interested in which branch, I guess, perhaps, of optical illusion art you want to get into. So let's go ahead and take a look into that. Okay, so the first thing we'll cover today then is patterns. Name is pretty obvious as to what that is. I'm going to give a couple examples in Photoshop here, and I will give some examples from Miiverse as well for some of these. Basically just based on lines, simple shapes, like squares or rectangles or whatever. They're usually meant to trick your mind into thinking you're moving or seeing objects that aren't there sometimes. For the most part, it feels like either moving, like this particular one is done in a way that they're just rectangles, but the one here in the middle, you do it just right and do them in the opposite direction, and it feels like the ones in the middle here are moving and all. Kind of crazy feeling. Also, let's see, this particular one is kind of goes on the opposite thing, where you're supposed to see something that's not there. If you look at this long enough, maybe it doesn't even take that long for you, that you'll see these black squares here connecting the larger squares. They're not there really, but your mind is tricking you to think that they are. To be honest, the patterns can be easy. It really depends, I guess, on how complicated you're trying to make this to be. For like this, it's just squares evenly spaced. I think a lot of your problem on some of these patterns is more about spacing than anything else. Let's go back to the previous one here. This would also be majorly about spacing more than anything else. If you were to do this, you would have to plan out well enough the carving of the ones going horizontal to insert the vertical ones. But again, you could, if you wanted, I guess, take these optical illusions, if there's a specific one that you want it to do, and take it, put it in Photoshop, fit it within the 320 by 120 size, and go from there. Do it maybe pixel by pixel if that's easier for you. Really up to you how you go about that, but at least it might be for something. It might be easier for something like this, where there's a circle and maybe pixel counting's easier. But you know, the drawing of these is more, I think, time consuming, like I said, with spacing more than anything else. Though let's take a look at some examples from Miiverse. So the second one would be line art. I only have one example here. I don't believe there are any on Miiverse, but it's to give you an idea of taking something simple and getting folks to see something out of it. I'm going to go ahead and go to it here. Basically, you can take simple lines like this. If you were to look at this, what would you see? Well, I see the letter E. So you can take an object, make it kind of three-dimensional, I guess, like a letter or what have you. I can't imagine many applications for this myself, but I like looking at optical illusion art, but I'm not into thinking about it myself. But you know, it's one application. I guess you could do letters, you could do the alphabet if you want it. But it's to give you the fact that you can take some simple lines and give the ability to get folks to see something that, intended or not, they see. That's also the beauty of optical illusion art, is sometimes they're made in a way that you can see two or more items in a piece of art, but that's more about the next one, which we'll go ahead and roll into. So the third category today is objects. I separated it from line art because this can be simple or complicated, even if some of the pieces are line art themselves. It's meant to be a little bit more thought-provoking. Generally, you see a secondary object. This is where I think it gets more interesting now. Patterns are interesting because they have some of that movement and all, or it feels like something's coming out or whatever. But this, I think, is a little bit more of a thinking thing. I think they require a little bit more thinking, and it kind of gives you, I don't know, I guess something second to look at. I mean, it's the same object, but you'll see potentially two different things. So let's take a look at the first example. I'm not going to say the name of it at the moment. This is a pretty common one. What do you see first? Generally, I see the duck, but this would be the bill of the duck and the eye and the back of its head. Or if you take a moment and look at it slightly differently, you can see the head, the nose, the back of the head, and the ears of a rabbit. Now, I'm going to admit, with the liner in this one, I've not seen any up on Miiverse, but it's something that's doable. I guess it really depends on how into optical illusion art folks are. It seems like most folks are into the patterns, which I guess is easy to get into, but and you don't really have to think about it so much. But these are just as interesting. Let's take a look at the second one here. And what's the first thing that you might see on this? Well, two different things. You could, depending on how you look at it, if you're looking at the positive, which would be the white area, the positive space, then you might see a vase. If you're looking at the negative space, or in other words, the black space, then you may see a face on both sides. So it really depends on how you look at these. Like I've said, these aren't really on Miiverse, but I think they would be kind of interesting if folks put them up. But I guess they're a lot harder to get into than, say, the patterns themselves. If you were to draw these, I guess it depends on what pattern you're going for. Something like this, where it's negative space and positive space, it would be easy. You just draw whatever lines you need, fill in the negative space, and leave the positive space white, and you're good to go. Something like this, it would take a little bit more creativity, some thought. I guess you could do some simple things like these from the internet, you could also try to make up your own. There are plenty of these out there if you're interested into that. It seems like optical illusion art itself, though, has kind of taken a back seat. I know for quite a while there are at least several folks that I think of that had optical illusion art up there. That's fallen. Even the folks that I do follow that have dramatically cut back on that. So I guess it's fed, and I guess there's only so much you can really do of it. I think it's interesting, an interesting topic to dabble in, but it's not something that would interest me. And also depending on the complexity, how difficult, but I can't imagine it being too difficult. The problem with patterns and stuff, and some of these Miiverse things would be more about spacing and not crossing the space over that you've already done. But you know, I mean, this might be a subject matter for very few, if any. I figured I'd cover it though, because there are folks out there that have at least touched on one of these categories, and maybe someone out there would like to get into it, can't really draw per se, or maybe they just loved optical illusion art, that I figured I would go ahead and cover it, get it out of the way. I do hope that maybe next week might be something more interesting for you. I'm not sure, I've not chosen my topic for next week. I'm not going into drawing these because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just basically line drawing or drawing of shapes. I just wanted to cover it though, to say that I've covered it, since some folks do go into it. Decided to cover this because, like I've said, I've seen some folks do it, and I'm not entirely sure how many folks are interested, but it was on my list of topics, and I might try to weave some topics, I guess what I would consider a little bit less interesting, but you know, that's just me. I do have a list that I'm working through, and I'm not going in any particular order. The thing is, I just want to cover a lot of these topics that I've seen folks do on Miiverse, whether I've done them or not. I know there's some folks out there that are interested in different ways of drawing and just art in general. I apologize if optical illusion art's not for you. Like I said, I want to cover all bases. Not sure what next week's topic is, or maybe next week. I might end up doing these once every 2 weeks. I'm not sure about that yet. Last week was a special case. My grandmother died, so it's already been a rough year. But I do have some personal projects I've been working on, or about to jump into. So this may become once every 2 weeks, but we'll see how that goes. I've not decided on a new topic, but we'll see how that goes. I do have a list, so just whittle it down, I guess I should say. But I just want to thank you for watching, and hope you guys have a great week or two. Hope to catch you soon.